The stars hung like scattered diamonds against the black void of space. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, her weathered hands gripping the metal railing as she watched the massive fleet spread out before her. 300 ships. The pride of humanity's war machine. All of them about to walk into what she now knew was a trap. "Admiral, we're receiving the final transmission from the Galactic Council," reported Lieutenant Marcus Webb, his young face pale with tension. "They're confirming the coordinates for the Peace Summit." Sarah's jaw tightened. The Peace Summit. After 15 years of brutal war against the Zephyrian Empire, the Council had finally brokered a ceasefire. They'd called humanity's entire fleet to the neutral zone of Kepler 442, promising an end to the bloodshed that had claimed billions of lives. But 3 hours ago, everything had changed. "Show me the recording again," Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered to life, displaying the grainy image of a Zephyrian prisoner they'd captured during the last battle. The alien's blue-scaled face was twisted with fear, but his words were clear enough. The Council, they made a deal. The prisoner had gasped in broken English. "Your fleet, ... it's a trap. They want you gone. All of you." Sarah's second-in-command, Commander David Rodriguez, stepped beside her. His dark eyes reflected the same anger that burned in her chest. "We should turn back," he said quietly. "Call off the mission." "With what proof?" Sarah replied. "The testimony of a single prisoner? The Council would dismiss it as Zephyrian propaganda." "Then what do we do?" Sarah turned to face her crew. 37 men and women who had followed her through hell and back. They'd lost friends, family, entire worlds to this war. They deserved to know the truth. "We go to the summit," she said, her voice carrying across the bridge. "But we go ready for war." The crew exchanged glances. They'd learned to trust their admiral's instincts over the years. If she said trouble was coming, they believed her. "Battle stations?" asked Commander Rodriguez. "Not yet," Sarah replied. "We don't want to give them an excuse to fire first, but have all weapon systems on standby. And send a coded message to the other ships. Tell them to be ready for anything." As the fleet moved toward the coordinates, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were sailing into their own funeral. The Galactic Council had been humanity's allies for over a century. They'd provided technology, resources, and guidance. As humans expanded into the stars, but something had changed during this war, something fundamental. The communications officer, a sharp-eyed woman named Elena Vasquez, looked up from her station. "Admiral, we're getting strange readings from the destination coordinates. Multiple ships are already there, but they're not broadcasting identification codes." "How many ships?" Sarah asked. "Scanning now, ... Admiral. I'm reading over 2,000 vessels, mixed signatures from all the major council races." Sarah's blood ran cold. 2,000 ships against their 300. If this was a trap, humanity was about to be outnumbered 7-1. "Time to destination?" she asked. 47 minutes, Webb replied. 47 minutes to decide the fate of humanity. Sarah looked out at the stars one more time, then turned. To her crew, "All hands. This is Admiral Chen. We're approaching what may be the most important moment in human history. I won't lie to you. We may be walking into an ambush. But remember who we are. We're the sons and daughters of a species that crawled out of caves and reached for the stars. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We've faced impossible odds before." She paused, her voice growing stronger. "If the Council wants a fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. But we won't fire first. We're better than that. We're human." The crew stood straighter, hands moving unconsciously to weapons and controls. They were ready. But as the fleet approached the coordinates, Sarah noticed something that made her stomach drop. The ships waiting for them weren't arranged for a peace summit. They were arranged in a battle formation, a perfect sphere with the coordinates at the center, a killing field. Admiral Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm detecting weapons. Charging across the enemy fleet. All ships." Sarah's finger hovered over the come button. One word from her would send the human fleet into battle against overwhelming odds. But if she was wrong, Admiral Chen, A new voice crackled over the communications system. It was Counselor Vex, the Altarian leader who had been humanity's strongest supporter. "Welcome to the Kepler system. Please have your ships move to the coordinates we've transmitted. We have much to discuss." Sarah looked at the coordinates. They would put the human fleet directly in the center of the enemy formation, completely surrounded, completely trapped. Counselor Sarah replied, keeping her voice steady, "We're reading over 2,000 ships in the area. Seems like a lot of security for a peace summit." There was a pause. Then Vex's voice returned, but something was different, colder. "Admiral, I'm afraid there's been a change of plans. The Council has decided that humanity's expansion into the galaxy must be regulated. Your species has become too aggressive, too unpredictable, cannot allow you to continue threatening galactic peace." Sarah felt the bottom drop out of her world. The prisoner had been right. This was a trap, and they'd flown straight into it. "Counselor," she said, her voice hardening, "are you saying the Council has betrayed its alliance with humanity?" "I'm saying the Council has made a difficult but necessary decision. Your fleet will be impounded. Your crews will be relocated to a safe world where humanity can learn to be more peaceful. This is for the good of all species." The bridge was silent, except for the hum of the ship's systems. Sarah looked at her crew, seeing the same realization in their eyes. They'd been betrayed by the very beings they'd trusted most. "If we refuse?" Sarah asked. The pause was longer this time. When Vex spoke again, his voice was barely human. "Then you will be destroyed. All of you. Consider this your only warning." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sarah stared at the tactical display, watching as more weapon systems came online across the enemy fleet. They had minutes, maybe less, before the Council opened fire. "Orders, Admiral," Commander Rodriguez asked. Sarah looked at her crew one more time. These brave men and women who had served humanity with honor. They didn't deserve to die as prisoners or slaves. They deserved to die as humans, fighting. "All ships," she said into the com. "This is Admiral Chen. We've just learned that the Galactic Council has betrayed humanity. They intend to destroy our fleet and enslave our people. Choice: surrender now and spend the rest of your lives in chains, or fight with me and show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of." The responses came back immediately. 300 ships, 300 crews, 300 votes for war. Sarah smiled grimly. "Then let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. All ships, weapons free. Target the closest Council vessels. We're going to punch through their line and get back home to Worn Earth." Admiral Alina called out. "The enemy fleet is moving to surround us. They're closing the trap." "Then we'd better spring it first," Sarah replied. "All ships, attack pattern Delta. We're going home." But as the human fleet charged toward the overwhelming enemy force, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to start something that would change the galaxy forever. The Council had made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated what humans were capable of. They had nothing left to lose. The first shots lit up the darkness of space like deadly fireworks. The war for humanity's survival had begun. Chapter 2. The Price of Trust. The first volley from the Council fleet lit up space like a deadly light show. Plasma bolts and particle beams streaked across the void, slamming into the human formation with devastating precision. The UES Defiant, a heavy cruiser on the fleet's outer edge, took 3 direct hits and exploded in a ball of superheated metal. "An atmosphere. Shields down to 60%, shouted the tactical officer aboard the Vengeance. Enemy fire concentrated on our forward ships. Admiral Chen gripped her command chair as the ship bucked under enemy fire. Around her, the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, their faces illuminated by the red glow of battle lighting. "Turn fire," she ordered. "All batteries. Target the Altarian command ship." The Vengeance's main guns spoke with thunder that could be felt through the ship's hull. Twin streams of accelerated particles lanced out across space, punching through the shields of a massive Council vessel. The enemy ship shuddered, but held its position, its own weapons continuing to fire direct hit on the enemy flagship, reported Lieutenant Webb. But their shields are holding. Sarah watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Council fleet was enormous, and their technology was more advanced than anything humanity possessed. The human ships were tough, and their crews skilled, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Commander Rodriguez," she called out, "have the destroyer squadron execute flanking maneuver 7. We need to break their formation. Aye, Admiral." Rodriguez's hands flew over his console, relaying orders. "To the smaller ships, all destroyers, hard to port. Target the gaps in their line." The human destroyers, fast and agile, broke formation and swept around the Council fleet's edge. Their missiles struck home, punching holes in the enemy line. But for every Council ship that fell, 2 more moved to fill the gap. Admiral Alina called from her communications station, getting reports from across the fleet. "The Youth Hammer and the UES Victorious are gone. The Gladiator is listing badly and losing atmosphere." Sarah's jaw tightened. They'd lost 30 ships in the first 10 minutes of battle. At this rate, the fleet would be destroyed within the hour. "What about our missile reserves?" she asked. "Percent remaining across the fleet," Webb reported. "But Admiral, we're not making enough of a dent. Their ships are too heavily armored." Sarah stared at the tactical display, her mind racing. The Council had planned this perfectly. They'd drawn humanity's entire fleet into a trap, and now they were systematically destroying it. But something about the enemy formation bothered her. They were holding back, not pressing their advantage. "Alina," she said suddenly, "are you picking up any transmissions from the Council fleet?" "Scanning now," Alina replied. "Yes, Admiral. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, it looks like. Orders to minimize damage to human ships?" Sarah frowned. "They're trying to capture us, not destroy us." "This makes sense," Rodriguez said grimly. "Dead humans can't work in their minds." "Then we use that against them," Sarah decided. "All ships, new orders. We're not trying to break through their line anymore. We're going to make them pay such a high price for capturing us that they'll wish they'd never betrayed humanity." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. I know the odds look impossible. I know we're outnumbered and outgunned. But remember what we're fighting for. We're fighting for Earth. We're fighting for our families. We're fighting for the right to exist as free humans." Her voice grew stronger, carrying across the void to every ship in the fleet. "The Council thinks we're weak. They think we'll surrender. When faced with superior numbers, they're about to learn why every predator in Earth's history learned to fear the humans who wouldn't give up." The fleet responded with a coordinated assault that caught the Council forces off guard. Human ships, damaged and bleeding atmosphere, turned directly toward the enemy and opened fire with everything they had. The UES Intrepid, her hull cracked and her engines failing, rammed directly into an Altarian heavy cruiser. Both ships disappeared. In a brilliant explosion that lit up the battlefield, Admiral Webb shouted over the noise. "The Council fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to pull back." Sarah watched in amazement as the massive enemy fleet began to retreat. The humans had inflicted such devastating losses that the Council commanders were having second thoughts about their easy victory. "No," she said quietly. "They're not retreating. They're regrouping." She was right. The Council fleet pulled back just far enough to reorganize, then began advancing again. But this time they weren't holding back. Energy beams and missile volleys poured into the human formation with lethal precision, shields failing. The tactical officer reported, "We can't take much more of this." Air watched as more of her ships died around her. The UES Courage, the UES Determination, the UES Last Stand. Each explosion took with it hundreds of human lives. Good people who had trusted her to lead them home. Admiral Alina said quietly, "I'm getting a transmission from the Council fleet. They're offering terms for surrender." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. Consular Vex's voice filled the bridge. But now it carried a note of respect that hadn't been there before. "Admiral Chen, you have fought with honor. Your losses are regrettable, but you cannot win this battle. Surrender now, and I give you my word that your crews will be treated well." Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew. They were battered and exhausted, but their eyes still held the fire of defiance. They were ready to die rather than surrender. Counselor, she replied, you made one mistake when you planned this trap. You assumed we'd want to survive. Admiral, please. Don't throw away more lives needlessly. You're right, Sarah said. This is needless. It's needless because you betrayed an alliance that had lasted over a century. It's needless because you decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to exist as equals. It's needless because you forgot that humans don't stay down when you knock them down. She paused, looking at the tactical display where less than 100 human ships remained operational. But since you want to see what humans are truly capable of, let me show you something special. Alina, open a channel to all ships. All human. Ships. Channel open, Admiral. Sarah took a deep breath. What she was about to order would doom them all. But it would also send a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. All ships. This is Admiral Chen. Execute Protocol 7. I repeat, execute Protocol 7. It's been an honor serving with you. The bridge fell silent. Protocol 7 was something that had never been used in actual combat. It was a theoretical last resort, designed for situations where surrender was not an option and victory was impossible. Admiral Rodriguez said quietly. Are you sure? I'm sure, Sarah replied. If we're going to die, we're going to die in a way that the galaxy will remember forever. Across the fleet, the remaining human ships began to implement Protocol 7. It was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. Every ship would overload their fusion reactors simultaneously, creating a chain reaction that would destroy everything within a massive radius. Admiral Alina reported. The Council fleet is detecting our reactor signatures. They're trying to retreat. Sarah smiled grimly. Too late. They wanted to see what humans were capable of. Now they're going to see. But as the human reactors began to overload, something unexpected happened. The tactical display showed new contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Massive ships, sleek and deadly with energy signatures unlike anything in the Council database. Admiral Webb said in amazement, those aren't Council ships. I don't know what they are, but they're targeting the Council fleet. Sarah watched in stunned silence as the unknown vessels opened fire on the Council forces. Their weapons were unlike anything she'd ever seen, tearing through enemy shields like paper. In minutes, the Council fleet was scattered and fleeing. All human ships, abort Protocol 7, Sarah ordered. Shut down reactor overloads immediately. Yes. As the human fleet powered down their self-destruct sequences, one of the unknown ships approached the Vengeance. It was beautiful in a deadly way, all smooth curves and gleaming metal. When it hailed them, the voice that came through was unmistakably human. Admiral Chen, this is Captain Maria Santos of the UES Retribution. We got your distress signal. We're late to the party. Sarah stared at the screen in disbelief. Captain Santos. But you're supposed to be dead. Your entire fleet was destroyed in the Vega system 3 months ago. That's what we wanted the Council to think, Santos replied. With a grin, we've been working on a little surprise. Earth's been busy while you've been fighting the Zephyrians. What kind of surprise? Sarah asked. Santos's grin widened. The kind that's going to make the Council regret the day they decided to betray humanity. Admiral, welcome to the real war fleet. The one they don't know about. As Sarah watched, more ships began dropping out of hyperspace. Hundreds of them, all with the same sleek design as Santos's vessel. Ships that were clearly human, but built with technology far beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Captain Sarah said slowly, How many ships do you have? Enough, Santos replied. Admiral, Earth received your warning about the Council's betrayal. We've been preparing for this day for months. The Council thinks they've destroyed humanity's fleet. They have no idea what's coming. Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. And the Council had betrayed humanity. But they'd also made a fatal mistake. They'd underestimated what humans were capable of when they had time to prepare. Captain Santos, she said formally, I'm transferring fleet command to you. Show the Council what they've started. With pleasure, Admiral, Santos replied. To all ships, this is the Retribution. Begin Operation Payback. Target every Council installation in this sector. No survivors. As the new human fleet spread out across the system, Sarah realized that the war had just begun. The Council had betrayed humanity, but they'd also awakened something they should have left sleeping. They'd awakened human ingenuity, human determination, and human wrath. The galaxy was about to learn a very painful lesson about the price of betraying Earth. Chapter 3. The Awakening. The hidden human fleet that emerged from hyperspace was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While the Council had been monitoring humanity's official shipyards, Earth had been busy constructing a secret armada using technology that would have been impossible just 5 years earlier. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching as her fleet systematically destroyed the Council forces that had moments earlier been preparing to capture Admiral Chen's battered ships. The Council vessels, caught completely off guard, were fleeing in all directions. Status report, Santos ordered. 18 Council ships destroyed, 47 fleeing the system, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander James Park. Our losses 0. Santos nodded grimly. The new ships were performing exactly as designed. Earth scientists had made several breakthroughs while the galaxy was distracted by the war with the Zephyrians. Breakthroughs that would change everything.
Captain?
Her communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from Admiral Chen. She's requesting permission to come aboard. Granted, Santos replied, and prepare a secure briefing room. The Admiral is going to want to know what's been happening back home. 20 minutes later, Admiral Chen materialized in the Retribution's transporter room, her face still bearing the grime and exhaustion of battle. Santos greeted her with a salute that Chen returned before looking around in amazement. These transporters, Chen said. They're not Council technology. No, Santos replied. They're human technology. We've been busy. She led Chen through the ships, corridors, past gleaming bulkheads, and advanced control panels. The Admiral's experienced eye took in every detail, noting the differences between these ships and the ones she'd commanded. This is impossible, Chen said finally. The technology level here is decades beyond anything I've seen. Not decades, Santos corrected. Just 5 years. Come on, let me show you what Earth's been working on. Entered a secure briefing room where a holographic display showed the current tactical situation. The Council fleet was in full retreat, but Santos's ships were pursuing them with deadly efficiency. How? Chen asked. Simply, Santos activated the display, showing a timeline of events. It started about 6 months into the war with the Zephyrians. Our scientists were analyzing captured enemy technology when they noticed something odd. The Zephyrians weren't just fighting us. They were fighting the Council too, in secret. What do you mean? The Council was playing both sides, Santos explained. They were supplying weapons to the Zephyrians while publicly supporting us. But they made a mistake. They used the same quantum encryption codes for both sides. Eyes widened. You broke their codes. We broke everything, Santos said with satisfaction. Their communications, their databases, their research files. Admiral, we learned that the Council has been manipulating galactic conflicts for over 1,000 years. They've been using war to control the development of younger species, making sure no one ever becomes powerful enough to challenge them. But if you knew this, why didn't you warn us? Santos's expression grew somber, because we needed proof. We needed time to prepare. Earth's leadership made a difficult decision. They let your fleet walk into this trap, knowing that the Council's betrayal would give humanity the moral authority to do what we're about to do, which is end the Council's reign of terror permanently. Santos activated another display showing the true scope of Earth's secret preparations. Hidden shipyards throughout the Sol system, new weapons technologies, and most shocking of all, evidence of contact with other species that had been secretly fighting the Council for centuries. The Zephyrians, Chen realized. They're not our enemies, never were, Santos confirmed. They're refugees. The Council destroyed their homeworld 50 years ago when they refused to submit to Council authority. The war you've been fighting was orchestrated by the Council to keep both species weakened and under control. Chen sank into a chair, overwhelmed by the scope of the deception. "How many species?" 47 that we know of, Santos replied. "All of them secretly fighting the Council. All of them waiting for someone with the technology and determination to lead a real rebellion. And that someone is us?" "That someone is us," Santos confirmed. "Admiral, humanity has something the Council has never encountered before. We have a psychological trait that makes us uniquely dangerous to their system of control." "What trait?" Santos smiled grimly. "We don't know when we're beaten. Every other species in the galaxy has a biological instinct to submit to superior force. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. But humans? We have this annoying habit of fighting harder when the odds get worse." Chen thought about her crew's reaction to the impossible odds they'd faced. Instead of surrendering, they'd been prepared to die fighting. "The Council doesn't understand that. Council doesn't understand that," Santos agreed. "They think they can control us through fear and superior force. They're about to learn that you can't intimidate a species that conquered its own planet by refusing to give up." The briefing room door opened, and another figure entered. Chen recognized him immediately, Dr. Marcus Webb, scientist who had disappeared 3 years earlier during a research mission. Admiral Chen Webb said with a smile, "Good to see you again. I hear you've had an interesting few hours." "Doctor," Webb Chen replied, "we thought you were dead." "I was busy," Webb replied. "Captain Santos, have you shown the Admiral our new toys?" Santos nodded. "She's seen the ships. I think she should see the real surprise." Webb activated a new display, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Council-controlled systems, while blue dots showed human positions. But there were also green dots scattered throughout the galaxy, far more than Chen had expected. "The green dots are our allies," Webb explained. "Species that have been secretly supporting the resistance. We've been building a network, Admiral. A network that's about to go active." "How many ships?" Chen asked. "Across all species? About 50,000, Webb replied casually. Chen stared at him. 50,000 ships? The Council has been suppressing technological development for centuries, Webb explained. But they couldn't suppress everything. Our allies have been building up their forces in secret, waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment is now. Santos brought up another display, showing real-time intelligence from across the galaxy. "Admiral, in the next 6 hours, coordinated strikes will begin against every major Council installation. Their fleet bases, their government centers, their research facilities, everything. This is a galactic revolution," Chen realized. "This is a galactic revolution," Santos confirmed, "and humanity is leading it. But Admiral, we need you to do something important. We need you to take your surviving ships and head for the Zephyrian homeworld." "Why?" "Because the Council has one last card to play," Webb said grimly. "They've been holding the surviving Zephyrian population as hostages. If they realize they're losing the war, they'll execute every last one of them." Chen felt her blood run cold. "How many?" 2 billion, Webb replied. "Men, women, children. All of them imprisoned on a single world, used as leverage to keep the Zephyrian resistance in line. And you want me to rescue them? I want you to show the galaxy what humans do when innocents are threatened," Santos said. "The Council expects us to calculate costs and benefits, to make the logical decision. They don't understand that humans don't abandon people who need help." Chen looked at the tactical display, where her battered fleet was being repaired and resupplied by the new human vessels. Her ships were damaged, her crews exhausted, but she could see the determination in their eyes. They'd been betrayed, but they hadn't been broken. "How long do we have?" she asked. 12 hours, Webb replied. "Maybe less. The Council is already moving to consolidate their position. If we don't act fast, those 2 billion Zephyrians will become martyrs to the cause." Chen stood up, her decision made. "Then we'd better get moving. Captain Santos, I'm taking my fleet to the Zephyrian homeworld. You continue with the main offensive." Admiral Santos said seriously, "This is going to be the most dangerous mission in human history. The Council will throw everything they have at you to stop a rescue, and it's a good thing humans don't know when to quit," Chen replied. "Dr. Webb, I'm going to need everything. You know about Council defenses around the Zephyrian homeworld? Already prepared, Webb said, handing her a datapad. Admiral, there's something else you should know. The Zephyrians have been sending us messages through their underground network. They know you're coming. What kind of messages? Webb smiled. They're calling you the Liberator Fleet. Admiral, you're about to become a legend. Chen looked at the datapad, reviewing the impossible odds they would face. The Council had fortified the Zephyrian homeworld with over 300 ships and orbital defense platforms. Her fleet had less than 90 operational vessels. Any advice for fighting impossible odds?
How?
She asked. Santos grinned. Yes, remember that you're human. The Council is about to learn that impossible odds just make humans more dangerous. As Chen prepared to leave, Webb called out one final piece of information. Admiral, there's something else. The Zephyrians have been working on a surprise of their own. When you arrive at their homeworld, broadcast the code phrase, Earth remembers. They'll know what to do. What kind of surprise? The kind that will make the Council regret ever imprisoning a species that's been planning their revenge for 50 years. Chen smiled grimly. The Council had betrayed humanity, but they'd also made a fatal mistake. They'd united the galaxy against them, and now they were about to face the consequences. The war was about to become very interesting. Chapter 4. The Price of Freedom. The Zephyrian homeworld of Kepler 438b hung in space like a poisoned jewel. Its once blue oceans now gray. With the ash of orbital bombardment, Admiral Chen's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, immediately detecting the massive Council fortress that surrounded the planet. My God, whispered Commander Rodriguez, staring at the tactical display. They've turned the entire planet into a prison. The Council had indeed been thorough. Massive orbital platforms ringed the world, each one bristling with weapons designed to prevent any escape attempts. Energy barriers flickered between the platforms, creating an impenetrable cage around the 2 billion Zephyrian survivors imprisoned. On the surface, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Webb, I'm reading 400 Council ships in defensive positions. They're already moving to intercept us. Chen studied the display, her mind racing through tactical options. Her fleet had grown to 120 ships, thanks to reinforcements from Captain Santos, but they were still outnumbered more than 3 to 1. Lena, she called to her communications officer. Are you picking up any transmissions? From the surface. Scanning now, Elena replied. Admiral, I'm detecting multiple underground transmission sources. They're using some kind of quantum encryption. Try the code phrase Dr. Webb gave us, Chen ordered. Elena nodded and opened a channel. This is the UES vengeance to any Zephyrian forces. Earth remembers. I repeat, Earth remembers. The response was immediate. The main screen flickered to life, showing the scaled blue face of a Zephyrian commander. His eyes were scarred, his face bearing the marks of 50 years of imprisonment, but his voice was strong. Admiral Chen, I am Commander Zek of the Zephyrian Liberation Front. We have been waiting for you. Commander Zek, Chen replied. We're here to get you out, all of you, and we are ready. Zek replied with a fierce smile. Admiral, the Council believes they have destroyed our ability to fight. They are wrong. We have spent 50 years preparing for this moment. What do you need from us? Create a distraction. Draw their fleet away from the planet. We will handle the rest. Chen frowned. Commander, we're not leaving you to fight alone. We came here to rescue you, and you will, Zek replied. But not in the way you think, Admiral, the Council made. A fatal mistake when they imprisoned us all on one world. Gave us 50 years to prepare a surprise that will echo across the galaxy. Before Chen could respond, the Council fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams lanced across space, forcing the human ships to scatter and take evasive action. All ships return fire, Chen ordered. The human fleet responded with a coordinated barrage that punched through the Council formation. But for every Council ship that fell, 2 more moved to take its place. Enemy had the advantage of numbers and position. Admiral Rodriguez called out, The Council is demanding our surrender. proclaiming that any attack on their forces here will result in the execution of all Zephyrian prisoners. Chen's jaw tightened. The council was using the very people she'd come to rescue as shields. It was a calculated move designed to paralyze her with moral uncertainty. "Put me through to the council commander," she ordered. The screen changed too. Show a tall, pale figure with 4 arms and cold, multifaceted eyes. Admiral Kex of the Altarian Defense Force had been one of humanity's allies just days earlier. Now he was their enemy. "Admiral Chen Kex," said in his mechanical voice, "you are in violation of galactic law. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "Consequences?" Chen replied. "Like the consequences of betraying a century-old alliance? Like the consequences of attempting to destroy humanity's fleet under the pretense of peace? The Council acted to preserve galactic stability," Kex replied. "Your species has proven too aggressive to be allowed unrestricted expansion." "Our species has proven too independent to be controlled," Chen corrected. "That's what really bothers you, isn't it? We don't bow down to superior force. Your defiance ends here," Kex said coldly. "We have 10 minutes to surrender, or we will begin executing Zephyrian prisoners. 1,000 every minute until you comply." The transmission ended, leaving Chen staring at the tactical display. The Council fleet was moving to surround her forces, while the orbital platforms were charging their weapons. In 10 minutes, innocent people would start dying because of her decision to come here. "Admiral," Elena said quietly, "Commander Zek is requesting another channel. Put him through." The Zephyrian commander's scarred face appeared on the screen. Again, but now he was smiling. "Admiral, do not concern yourself with the Council's threats. They will not have the opportunity to execute anyone." "Commander, what are you talking about?" 50 years, Admiral. 50 years of forced labor, building. The Council's weapons and ships. Do you think we built them correctly?" Chen's eyes widened as she realized what Zek was suggesting. "You sabotaged their equipment?" "We sabotaged everything," Zek confirmed. "Every ship, every weapon, every system the Council has forced us to build over the past 5 decades. We have been waiting for someone to give us the signal to activate our surprises." "What kind of surprises?" "The kind that will free not just my people, but every enslaved species in the galaxy." "Admiral, in approximately 3 minutes, you are going to witness the largest coordinated sabotage operation in galactic history." Chen watched the countdown on her display, her heart pounding. Round her, the Council fleet was moving into position for a final assault. The orbital platforms were powering up their weapons. Everything was ready for a massacre. Then, suddenly, the Council fleet began to die. It started with small explosions aboard the enemy ships, critical systems failing at precisely the wrong moment, weapons overloading, engines going offline. But it quickly escalated into something magnificent and terrible. Across the Council fleet, fusion reactors began to overload and cascade failures. Ships that had been built by Zephyrian slave labor over 5 decades suddenly turned on their masters. The orbital platforms, massive constructs that had taken years to build, began tearing themselves apart from the inside. Admiral Webb reported in amazement. "The entire Council defense grid is collapsing. I'm reading critical failures across their entire fleet." Chen watched in stunned silence as 400 enemy ships began to die simultaneously. The Zephyrians hadn't just sabotaged individual components, they'd built hidden vulnerabilities into everything, waiting for the moment when they could strike back at their captors. "Commander Zek," she said into the com, "this is incredible. How did you coordinate something like this?" 50 years of patience," Admiral Zek replied. 50 years of appearing broken while we planned our revenge. The Council believed they had crushed our spirit. They were wrong. On the tactical display, the Council fleet was in complete disarray. Ships were exploding, losing power, or simply drifting dead in space. The orbital platforms that had imprisoned the Zephyrians were falling toward the planet's surface in burning meteors. "All human ships," Chen ordered. "Move to assist any Council vessels with survivors. We're not murderers." Admiral Rodriguez protested. "These are the same people who were about to execute prisoners." "These are the same people who were following orders," Chen corrected. The Council leadership betrayed us, but that doesn't mean every soldier deserves to die. It was a decision that would define humanity's role in the galaxy. While the Council had been willing to commit genocide, the humans chose mercy. Across the battlefield, human ships moved to rescue survivors from the dying Council fleet. Admiral Chen came a new voice over the comm. It was Admiral Kex, but his mechanical tone was replaced by something that sounded almost like gratitude. My ship is losing life support. We have 300 crew members aboard. We'll get them, Chen replied. All of them. As the human fleet worked to save lives, something remarkable happened on the planet below. The energy barriers that had caged the Zephyrians flickered and died. For the first time in 50 years, the planet's surface was free. Admiral Alina reported. I'm getting transmissions from the surface. The Zephyrians are launching ships. Hundreds of them. Chen watched in amazement as vessels began rising from the planet's surface. They were clearly Zephyrian in design, but they incorporated technology that seemed far beyond what the Council had possessed. Commander Zek, she said. Where did those ships come from? Told you we had been busy, Zek replied with what might have been a laugh. The Council forced us to mine the planet's core for rare minerals. They thought we were building there. Ships and weapons. We were also building our own. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful in their alien way, all flowing curves and crystalline surfaces. As they spread out across the system, their weapons began targeting the few remaining Council. Vessels that hadn't been destroyed by sabotage. Admiral Commander Rodriguez said quietly, We've done it. We've actually done it. Chen looked at the tactical display, seeing the scattered remains of the Council fleet and the rising tide of Zephyrian ships. But she also saw something else. Massive energy signatures approaching the system. Lena, are you reading those contacts? Yes, Admiral. Multiple fleets dropping out of hyperspace. I'm reading. Admiral, I'm reading over 1,000 ships. Mixed signatures from dozens of species.
Chen
felt her heart skip a beat. Either the Council was sending massive reinforcements, or something else was happening. Admiral Chen, came a familiar voice over the comm. This is Captain Santos. How's the rescue mission going? Chen smiled with relief. Captain, perfect timing. We've just liberated the Zephyrian homeworld. Excellent. Because we've got some news to share. The Galactic Revolution is ahead of schedule. Admiral, we've just received word that 47 species have simultaneously declared independence. From the Council, the old order is over. Chen stared at the main screen as more and more ships continued to arrive. Representatives from species she'd never heard of, all flying banners of rebellion against the Council's authority. Captain, she said slowly. What happens now? Now, Santos replied. Now we build something better, Admiral, you're looking at. The first meeting of the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Every species that's been suppressed, enslaved, or manipulated by the Council is here. And they're all looking to humanity for leadership. Why us? Because we're the ones who started this. Because we're the ones who proved that the Council could be beaten. Because we're the ones who chose to rescue our enemies' prisoners instead of leaving them to die. Chen looked at the rescue operation still ongoing around her. Human ships were pulling survivors from Council vessels, providing medical aid and temporary shelter. It was a scene that would be remembered across the galaxy, Admiral. Commander Zek's voice came over the comm. On behalf of the Zephyrian people, I want to thank you. For 50 years, we dreamed of freedom. Today, you made that dream reality, Commander Chen replied. We're not liberators. We're just humans who couldn't stand to see innocent people suffer. That, Zek said, is exactly why the galaxy needs human leadership. As the massive fleet of liberated species spread out across the system and realized that the war against the Council was far from over, this was just the beginning. The Council still controlled thousands of worlds, still commanded millions of ships, still held billions of people under their rule, but something fundamental had changed. The myth of Council invincibility was broken. The galaxy's oppressed species had seen that resistance was possible. Humanity, the species that never knew when to quit, was leading the charge. All ships, Chen announced, over the fleet-wide comm. This is Admiral Chen. Today we've witnessed something unprecedented in galactic history. We've seen what happens when free species work together against tyranny. We've seen what happens when the oppressed refuse to stay down." She paused, looking out at the thousands of ships now flying in formation around her. "The Council betrayed us. They tried to destroy us. They failed. But more importantly, they showed the galaxy their true nature. They showed everyone that they were willing to commit genocide to maintain their power. That revelation has cost them everything." Her voice grew stronger, carrying across the void to every ship in the massive fleet. "We didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it. Not for revenge, but for every species that's been enslaved. Every world that's been exploited, every person who's been told they're not worthy of freedom. The Council's reign of terror ends now." The response was overwhelming. Voices from dozens of species, speaking in languages Chen had never heard, all united in a single purpose. The galaxy was going to war, and humanity was leading the charge. But as the fleet prepared to move on to the next Council stronghold, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest battles were still ahead. But the Council wouldn't give up there. Power is a lie. They would fight with everything they had, and they would make the galaxy pay a terrible price for its freedom. The question was, would humanity's allies still stand with them when the real war began? ## Epilogue. The New Dawn 6, months after the liberation of Kepler 438b. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the UES Liberator, humanity's newest and most advanced starship. Through the massive viewport, she could see the construction of New Geneva Station, a massive space habitat that would serve as the headquarters for the Galactic Liberation Alliance. The station was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Zephyrian crystal technology provided the structural framework, while human innovation had designed the living spaces and command centers. Dozens of other species had contributed their own specialties, creating something that was truly galactic in scope. Admiral Commander Rodriguez approached with a data pad. The morning reports from the front lines. Chen accepted the pad and reviewed the information. The war against the Council was progressing, but it was nothing like the quick victory many had hoped for. Council had retreated to their core worlds and was fighting with the desperation of a cornered animal. "How many systems liberated this week?" she asked. 12, Rodriguez replied. "But the Council destroyed 3 of them before we could arrive. They're implementing a scorched earth policy. If they can't control a world, they'll make sure no one else can either." Chen nodded grimly. The Council's response to the rebellion had been exactly what she'd expected. They were willing to commit genocide rather than lose their power. In the past 6 months, they destroyed 17 inhabited worlds, killing over 40 billion people. Any word from Captain Santos? She's leading the assault on the Altarian core worlds. Last report indicated heavy resistance, but the Liberation Fleet is making progress. Chen looked out at the construction of New Geneva Station. It was beautiful and hopeful, a symbol of what the galaxy could become. But it was also a reminder of the price of freedom. Every beam and bulkhead had been paid for with blood. Admiral Elena's voice came over the comm. "Receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's marked as classified." "Put it through my ready room," Chen ordered, in her private office. Chen activated the secure hologram projector. The image that appeared was that of President Martinez, Earth's first elected leader since the start of the Galactic War. Admiral Martinez said, "I have news that will change everything. Our scientists have made a breakthrough." "What kind of breakthrough?" "The kind that will end this war in days instead of years." "Admiral, we've found the Council's greatest weakness, and we're going to exploit it." Chen leaned forward. "What weakness?" "Their reliance on artificial intelligence." "Admiral, the Council has been using AI systems to coordinate their entire civilization for over 1,000 years. Every ship, every weapon, every communication system is controlled by a central AI network. And we've figured out how to. Heckett, Dr. Webb's team, has developed a virus that can spread through the Council's quantum communication network. Once it's deployed, it will shut down every AI system the Council controls." Chen felt her pulse quicken. Everything. Everything. Their ships will be dead in space. Their weapons will be offline. Their entire civilization will be paralyzed. "What's the catch?" Martinez's expression grew serious. The virus has to be deployed from the Council's central command world. Someone has to get close enough to their core systems to upload it directly. Suicide mission. Not necessarily. Admiral, we've been monitoring Council communications. They're planning a final assault on Earth. They're gathering every ship they have for one last desperate attack on humanity's homeworld. Chen understood immediately. They're leaving their core worlds vulnerable. Exactly. Admiral, we need you to lead a strike force to the Council's home system. Get close enough to upload the virus, and this war ends. Chen looked at the tactical display showing the current galactic situation. The Council still controlled over half the galaxy, but their forces were spread thin, fighting the rebellion. If humanity could strike at their heart, how many ships for the mission? Whatever you need. Admiral, this is our chance to end the war without destroying half the galaxy in the process. Chen made her decision. I'll take 500 ships. Fast attack vessels that can get in and out quickly. Admiral Martinez said seriously, there's something else. The Council knows about the virus. They're expecting us to try something like this. Then it's a trap. It's a trap. But it's also our only chance to end this war before billions more people die. Chen stood up, her mind already working through the tactical possibilities. Mr. President, I'll need complete operational autonomy for this mission. No oversight, no second guessing. You have it. Admiral, the fate of the galaxy is in your hands. After the transmission ended, Chen stood in her ready room, staring out at the stars. In 6 months, she'd gone from commanding a single fleet to leading the largest military alliance in galactic history. The responsibility was overwhelming. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. The department heads are ready for the mission briefing. On my way. In the main briefing room, Chen faced the assembled commanders of the Liberation Fleet. Humans, Zephyrians, and representatives from dozens of other species. 6 months ago, many of these beings had been enemies. Now they were united in common cause. Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings, she began. We've just received intelligence that will allow us to end this war. But the mission will be dangerous, and the odds are against us. She activated the holographic display, showing the Council's core system. This is Altair Prime, the Council's capital world. It's protected by over 2,000 ships and orbital defense platforms. Getting close enough to upload our virus will require a direct assault on the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. The room was silent as the commanders studied the display. Finally, Commander Zek spoke up. Admiral, my people have been prisoners of the Council for 50 years. If this mission can free the rest of the galaxy, we'll follow you to the center of a star. Similar declarations came from around the room. These beings had all suffered under Council rule, and they were willing to risk everything for the chance at freedom. Very well, Chen said. We leave in 12 hours. All volunteers only. Anyone who wants to stay behind can do so with no shame. 12 hours later, Chen stood on the bridge of the Liberator as her strike force prepared to depart. Ships, crewed by volunteers from across the galaxy. It was the most diverse fleet in history, united by a common cause. Admiral Alina reported. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump. Then let's go finish this war, Chen ordered. Ships jump. The strike force vanished into hyperspace, leaving New Geneva Station behind. As they traveled through the void between stars, Chen couldn't help but think about how far they'd all come. 6 months ago, humanity had been betrayed and nearly destroyed. They were leading a galactic revolution. But the hardest part was, still ahead, the Council would fight to the end, and they would make the galaxy pay a terrible price for its freedom. The question was whether the Alliance would hold together when the real test came. Chen looked out at the stars streaming past. The viewport. Somewhere out there, Earth was preparing for the Council's final assault. The home world of humanity was about to face its greatest test, but Earth wouldn't face it alone. The galaxy's free species were finally united, and they were ready to fight for their future. The Council had started this war by betraying humanity. Humanity was about to finish it, as the strike force continued its journey toward the Council's capital. Chen made herself a promise. This war would end with the Council's defeat. But it would also end with something the galaxy had never seen before: a true alliance of free species. Working together as equals, the age of the Council was over. Age of freedom was about to begin, and it would be written in the stars that when the galaxy needed heroes, humanity had answered the call.